back to Shimpling Park Farm. It's the season for the arable team to gather in everything they have been growing all year. But before the crops are quite ready, Joe has been hosting a precision grazing meeting. The nightmare of last summer's drought has left very deep scars, and we're having to make long-term informed decisions in view of climate change. Joe is on an absolute mission to make sure we know exactly how much grass we've got for the sheep to eat.
Yeah, so we're using a device called a rising plate meter. So what it does is it measures the distance in height between the plate, which sits on the sward, and then the shaft that comes and touches the ground. And there's a little formula inside it, a little calculation it does, which converts that height into kilos of dry matter. So if we know a ewe needs 2 kilos of dry matter a day, if we measure this area and say there's 200 kilos of dry matter per hectare, then that would last 100 ewes a day. We're looking to see how much grass is available, how long it's going to last the sheep, and allows us to make planned decisions. So it takes a lot of the guesswork out of farming.
The irony, of course, is that this year we've had so much oddly timed rain that we've had the perfect grass growing conditions. This is the very pretty lucerne flower, which we've been growing as a bit of an experiment to see if it makes good fodder. It's been in for about 4 years now. We got 78 big haylage bales of this small area alone, about 3 hectares. And this is the second cut. Rocket fuel. Our wonderful team of hand weed pullers finished 6 hard weeks of removing wild oats and docks, come rain and shine. And rain was the theme of the start of this year's harvest. But we've got a good distraction. It's time to replace our tractors. We do this roughly every 5 years. We need to keep up with technology and the trade-in values, because modern tractors are so expensive that if you get too far behind, it's very hard to catch up.
Yeah, I'm Kevin Gage, working for PEX. Just delivered 2 new JCB fast tracks, and obviously taking the old case away.
Have you sold many JCBs this year?
There's a lot going out the door, yes. Yes, they are. They're going really well.
What do you think makes JCB popular?
British built. I think that's got a good plus. And the reliability, the backup. I just think they got what it takes, yes.
Post-Brexit, can we get the parts easy?
They seem to be getting the parts all right. Yes, they do.
We're also actively trying to reduce our engine size and lower our weight to minimise soil compaction and try and use less fuel. One of the reasons for going for these tractors is that they are 4-wheel steer, which should mean that we do less damage when turning on the headlands or the outsides of our fields. A lot of yield can be lost there. Go on, Wendy. It's time we did some driving now. Does he go everywhere with you?
Everywhere, yes.
Thank you for our new tractors.
Come on, boy.
Quite sad to see them go. Yeah? There've been lots of hours of company. Sam, are you happy?
Very happy.
Yeah?
Yes, very, very, very happy.
These tractors are never going to look this clean again. The sun came out and it was time to get harvesting. Time to test the new toys. We started with the spelt, a beautiful arching crop, but the weather is changeable, or catchy as they say on the farm, so we're snatching hours here and there as soon as the crop is dry enough to thrash. Then we're on to the barley and the oats. The barley heads bend over when they get ripe, or neck as John calls it, and the heavy rain can see these snap off and fall to the ground. So how's it going, Sam?
Yeah, it's pretty well. Sun's out, always helps.
Having had a really wet start, I checked this morning and we had 93.9 millimetres of rain in July, and we've had 20 mil of rain in August so far, and it's August the 6th now. These are the oats, how are they doing?
Yeah, these oats are yielding really well, to be fair. That's slowing us up a bit, obviously, but it's nice to be slowed up by a good crop.
So why are we getting them in before we're getting our wheat in?
because our spring oats are quite susceptible to bad weather, and there's a risk of losing yields due to shaling out, so it's grabbing them now while we can.
This field is going to be grass and clover fallow next year. You can already see the grass and clover growing here underneath the harvested crop. We sowed it back in the late spring while this year's crop was growing to give it a head start. This will feed the soil and we'll graze our sheep on it. And they're off again. And there's a lot of moving around to get to the right crops at the right time. And sometimes it's raining on one side of the farm, but not on the other side of the farm. So there's constant juggling whilst trying not to waste any combining time at all. The team have sometimes had to move the machinery late at night when there's less traffic on the road. How's it going, Rufus?
Pretty good. Fairly close to the floor, but apart from that.
There's a real skill in setting up a combine so accurately that you get the best grain sample, but you waste nothing. From time to time, Sam gets out and checks that he's not throwing any grain out of the back. Harvesting days are long. The wonderful Connie has bought hot meals every harvesting day to the team. She certainly is the hero of the day when she arrives. And as the arable team work on through the nights, we have some visitors on the farm. So can you just tell me who you are and what you're doing here?
James Cartledge, I am the MP for South Suffolk. South Suffolk is a beautiful constituency in East Anglia which includes the fine village of Shimpling and this wonderful farm, Shimpling Park Barn. I'm here to visit the farm because, well, John Pawsey has run this for I think 25 years or so. It's very special because it's an organic farm. You know, there are lots of brilliant farms around the area who farm differently, but I think it has quite a unique approach. And when you walk around the farm, you're seeing ways of growing crops in quite an original fashion so that you can still have the output and the yield without using sprays and so on.
What is the government's position on farming at the moment?
Well, we want to see a thriving agriculture industry in the UK. Obviously there's a huge change because we left the European Union, whereas before there was a subsidy through the CAP, the Common Agricultural Policy. If you've got land, here's your payment. It's brutal simplification, whereas now it'll be about doing things that really support sustainable farming, support nature. I'm the parliamentary champion for the turtle dove, would you believe?
Well, brilliant Paul's been here, digging while it's dry in the summer. And here he's replaced a completely fallen down old bridge. This is a main drain, which is our responsibility to keep clear. So that should outlive us a while. That pipe, believe it or not, was £890. We're an agri-epi farm, which means we're open to hosting experiments.
Hi. Hello, I'm Matthew from Pollenize, and we're doing this project today to record moth biodiversity in the area, as well as bees' waggle dances. The waggle dance is a dance which the scout bee does when it returns to the beehive to communicate to the other foraging bees where to go for the best sources of flowers. By means of filming them, we can passively clock into what they're, where they're going. So we know in the UK that honeybees pollinate 152 native species of plant. Bees are a generalist pollinator. So it's a feasibility study for wider use of the honeybee as a means of kind of assaying the health of the flora diversity on the UK farms. And then we also have a moth box.
Okay,
Yeah.
Show us the moth box.
Because in the UK we have over 2,500 species of moth. A traditional moth trap is a UV light and then the moths are trapped. So a human has to empty the trap in the morning and count the moths.
Yeah.
So what we're trying to do there is automate this process. So over consecutive days, over a 12-month period, is attract moths to the UV light, rest there for enough time to have their picture taken, and the moths can fly away in the morning because the light goes off and they're not trapped. And then we're going to upload those images to iNaturalist, So there's a community of, I think, 5 million users on that app.
And all the time, the sheep are growing and weddings have taken place in the barn. We've even had the village rock and roll dance. But all the time, the harvesting team have gone on and on, day and night. So John, what are you combining here?
We're combining our wheat and beans by-crop, and it's just beginning to rain. And so I'm not too sure how long we'll be doing it for. The moisture's just suddenly leapt up to 18.2%.
So this is beans and wheat together?
Yes.
And you'll combine them all now and then separate them after harvest. I've never been in a combine with the lid closes. It's raining very hard now. But the sun eventually came out and they got straight back on with the harvesting, now in between the rows of the agroforestry. And on to some very late nights if the dew doesn't dampen the crop too much. These machines, combine harvesters, combine lots of jobs. They cut, thrash the grain, sort the grain, measure the grain moisture, test the crop quality, map the yield, steer themselves, chop the straw, etc. In the old days, this would have been a whole winter's worth of work for a large team. So sometimes breakages happen which stop work, and it's frustrating when you've been going so hard. So what's broken there?
Just a finger on the knife, so it just won't cut very well without it.
Does one little finger make a big difference?
Yeah, massive difference.
Yeah, that's the offending stone.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what's caused it.
So that is just randomly hitting the knives.
Yeah.
So although the combine weighs the crop, to be doubly sure that we know exactly what we've got in the store and what came off each field, every trailer goes over this little weigh bridge. What are you doing there, Charles?
I am taking a sample from the trailer we've just had kicked to get a moisture and a hectolitre weight off each trailer, so we know roughly what moisture sort of crop's coming in the shed at, so we know what to dry it down to.
How wet is that?
A 16.2% moisture, because I've tested it for the wheat over the beans.
Harvesting days are really long.
We start work at 7:30, we'll be out at it by 8. I aim to sort of be combining by about 10:30 in the morning, which is normally when it's just about getting dry enough to make a start. We blow the combine down completely of dust, so to reduce risk of fire. We then go round, we check all the oil levels, belt tensions. I aim to run towards around midnight. Sometimes it's a little bit earlier if the damp comes in, but sometimes if we really need to push on, then we can be going a little bit later, sort of 1, maybe even 2 in the morning.
Good luck. Are you tired now?
A little bit, yeah.
Are you nearly finished?
Very nearly finished.
Because this runs so close to the ground, these are wear plates so it doesn't wear the metal. You have to replace them.
How often do you replace them?
The new ones. This is the 20th one this year.
So what's that bit?
So this is a belt texture for this belt here.
Right.
So unfortunately that snapped and the belt come off, and that was unfortunately enough to stop us last night.
So what does that belt do?
So that is part of the drive system for all of the front of the header and the conveyor.
So you've got to wait to get a new part?
Yes, yeah.
God. Trusty friends at Class Combines are never far behind. They're our emergency service at this time of year. Very annoyingly, we had a punishing amount of rain the day before we were supposed to finish harvest, but there was just enough time for the Sustainable Food Trust to hold an event in the barns to discuss how to speed up the required progress to a more sustainable farming method. And we all had a feast of organic local food and obviously lamb produced from the farm. We were then hit with a September heat wave and the combines rolled again.
This is vetch. So as you can see, they start off really bushy, and then unfortunately when they die off they go flat to the floor, and it's sort of just like a net on the floor, so it's trying to pick them up and get them up over the knife and into the combine. We had a real struggle last week with the straw being wet and the lack of sun, but we actually left it for a week and we've come back with the sun out and they've gone really well. In fact, the best I've ever seen them go. And it's the end of harvest for 2023.
Thank you for joining us as we say goodbye to one farming year and we leap forward into the new growing year, keeping our fingers crossed for very kind weather and learning lessons from our successes and our failures. There's a huge amount going on the farm in the autumn, so here goes, and we look forward to sharing it with you next time. See you then. Bye for now.